All right, back to our story around the pop-up that is happening at Maponya Mall in Soweto. It's a vaccine pop-up similar to the one that was held in Kagiso yesterday. Gauteng Premier David Makhura continuing with the province's COVID-19 inoculation drive. Tumaole Mohlaoli is our senior reporter on the story. Tumaole, it's a pop-up. Normally when we think pop-up, we think fashion, we think maybe lifestyle, some good food. The Premier obviously, honing in on that kind of idea to take it to vaccinations as well. Will it work?
Well, Michelle, the Premier David Makhura told me in no uncertain terms yesterday out in Kagiso on the West Rand that it has to work, that a government has no choice but to roll out these kind of programs, meaning that they are taking its inoculation drive to the community and also calling on the community to come to the various pop-up sites like the one we have here at Maponya Mall, as well as to other inoculation venues, including government facilities that have been communicated to the public, including healthcare facilities. He says that without that, at the rate things are going, and earlier you just touched on some of those statistics in terms of the deaths and in terms of the infection rates, it is really a very devastating time for the country, and the government is trying everything it can do. And what's interesting about the pop-ups is that what the Premier David Makhura of Gauteng province said is that Gauteng province is gearing up to be one of the most worst hit in terms of the spike that is currently being experienced with the COVID-19 infections and deaths. The reason he says this, Michelle, is because he says that during the lockdown period, many people had left the province and gone back to their, if I can use the word, original home provinces. And so when you have people coming back, an influx of people with the reopening gradually of the economy as the lockdown restrictions had been reduced and eased by government before we had seen, of course, the spike in this latest wave. He said that this has caused people to then come back, an influx, and this is a ticking time bomb when it looks at the situation when it comes to the deaths and it comes to new infections, because people are coming in from everywhere, and this could be a problem. So if I can just step out of shot so that Kevin can give you an idea of what's happening, we are seeing behind us the pop-up vaccination point is now being set up, and officials here are saying that they're expecting the Gauteng Premier David Makhura to arrive anytime before 8 a.m. this morning. But they're saying that, everything is all systems go. In fact, they are also having some colorful mats on the floor, and they say that this will be because they're going to have aerobics. So apart from the COVID-19 inoculation drive, they're also going to try to encourage people to lead a healthier lifestyle, to try to encourage people, as always, to keep masked up and to sanitize their hands. Now, don't think that they will be encouraging people to do aerobics after they get inoculated. I think this is just basically a message that they're going to communicate to the public here. So this is what we're expecting here, and certainly it will remain to be seen how the public responds to that. Because in Kagiso, just yesterday, we saw how positive the people were, saying that they are glad the Premier came through, but on the other breath, others are saying that they were reluctant, especially younger people out there, because they weren't sure what is happening, what the vaccine will do to them. They're saying that misinformation, especially on social media, is a problem. He appealed to them, along with the Deputy President David Mabuza, to stay away from fake news, to go to government and credible sites and credible news sources.
I mean, I suppose that's also a question to put to the Gauteng Premier. It's good to advise people to stay away from fake news, but what are you doing as a province to get the right information out there for people who perhaps are on the fence insofar as vaccines are concerned? Tumaole, the Deputy President yesterday also saying that he is confident that South Africa can actually reach so-called herd immunity insofar as the number of people who are vaccinated is concerned in the country. So that would be 70% of the population that's eligible to receive a vaccine, right? So far, we've got just over 6 million people who are fully vaccinated. That's 10% of the population that's fully vaccinated so far. For us to get to herd immunity, that leaves around about 34 million people or so that still need to be fully vaccinated. I mean, what's the Deputy President using to back up the claim that he says this is still possible before we get to the end of the year?
Well, what the Deputy President is saying is that he is confident because it's going to be all systems go. He says that the government is determined, and the provincial, the local government, as well as national level at all spheres. This is something of a national emergency in his words, and government is not resting on his laurels. So he's saying that there's a commitment from the healthcare professionals. There's a commitment also from the private sector. There's a commitment also from officials from other spheres of government to come through and help each other, as well as a commitment from the communities. You know, the Deputy President was saying that he's encouraged by the fact that he's seeing younger people asking questions and coming forward, because there was a concern that younger people would, veer off towards social media and misinformation, and therefore stay away from, following, government prescripts of getting vaccinated. But also the fact that there were concerns about how people were getting sort of COVID fatigue, especially amongst the youth. We see people in recent times, partying, getting together, not wearing masks, not social distancing. And he said that it's up to young people to keep encouraging each other. And he says that the response he got on the ground certainly suggests that there's positivity, and people are going to gear towards helping government achieve those targets. He did admit, though, Michelle, that it's not going to be easy.
So before I let you go, Tumaole, so what happens today if I am in the area of Maponya Mall? I just show up with my ID card and get my vaccine if I haven't already done so?
Yes, indeed, Michelle. If you're in the area, if you're in the vicinity, come through with your ID card, and you will then get processed and registered, and you'll be able to get your shot. And so what officials had been saying with these pop-up facilities is that no one will be turned away as far or as long as there's stock. So, come through, and there will be lines. We saw lines in Kagiso just yesterday. And as far as we were there on site, everyone who was on the line managed to get inoculated. And this was very, very encouraging. No one was turned away. In fact, wherever they seemed to be stock running low, officials were on hand to make sure that they got even more reserves. So this is encouraging, and it just goes to show that certainly government is determined to make sure it meets those targets.
Mohlaoli, thanks very much for that update. He's live to us there in Soweto at Maponya Mall, that pop-up event taking place there today as the Gauteng province tries to encourage people to go and get their vaccine. Very interesting, the Premier is saying, to young people, don't listen to fake news. But that's such an important question around whether the province itself, and the same goes for the rest of the country, is doing enough to put the right information out there.